Happy Sunday, friends! Welcome to the first sew-along of 2020. The pattern we'll be sewing is the Motley dress by Kokoro on Etsy. It may be purchased for $1.99. We believe in supporting pattern makers who share their craft with us, so everyone who wishes to participate will need to purchase a copy of the pattern. I will include the link in the description box below. Before I go any further, I would like to state that this is not an ad. Kokoro did not ask me to promote the pattern, nor do I have any affiliation with them. I purchased my own pattern from them at the full price of $1.99. Kokoro is aware of the sew-along and has given us their blessing to use their pattern in accordance with their pattern licensing. Now that that's out of the way, back to the discussion about the piece we will be sewing. So this dress is very beginner-friendly due to how the sleeves are sewn. You don't have to worry about the finicky curves in the arm side or armhole. So if you're a brand new sewer who wants to sew some clothes for your Blythe doll or a comparable, 1/6 doll, this is the perfect sew-along for you. For those who are new, the purpose of a sew-along is to sew things together as a group in a workshop setting. For this sew-along, I will make a post every Sunday in the sew-along group, no later than 1400 Central Standard Time or 2 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, which is GMT -6, with weekly task and instruction. Video will either be released the same day if I have time or later depending on my schedule. If you're unable to complete the task that week, don't worry. Participate as your schedule permits. If you want to sew ahead, don't let me stop you. So let's get started. For the first week of the sew-along, we will begin prepping for the actual sewing. This week is pretty easy, but it will set the stage for the rest of the sew-along. We get to shop for materials and decide what we want our dresses to look like in the end. So, what do you want your dress to look like? Something similar to the sample or something completely different? Will you be playing with other fibers, perhaps adding trims, or maybe just keeping it simple so that it can be paired off with a variety of accessories? Feel free to pick out a few fabrics if you want to make more than one dress. Since this is only going to be a true 2-week sew-along, I'll include a third bonus week of variations you can do with this pattern. So let's talk about the materials list. In addition to notions like scissors, pins, and marking materials, the materials list is very simple. You'll need the following: the sewing pattern, cotton fabric, approximately 22 by 32 centimeters, or if you have additional scraps that you have from previous projects, you can use that too. You can also use different fibers, but if you're new, you might want to stick with cotton just because it tends to be easier to sew than something that's a little bit tricky like knits or a little silky, slinky fabric. And of course, you need thread. You do not need a sewing machine, and you can sew this by hand if you prefer. I will be sewing on my machine. If you want to embellish your dress, please include trims, beads, etc. So for the tasks for week 1, which is the prep week, this is what you need to do. 1. Purchase the pattern. 2. Choose your fabrics or fabric and purchase it along with any notions. 3. Pre-treat your fabric if needed. And as a note, most fabrics are coated in sizing to protect the fabric in storage or transit. Sizing can give fabric stiffness, which can be washed out before using. Personally, I occasionally pre-wash my fabrics, but I have also worked with fabrics that were untreated and hand-washed with a gentle detergent after I'm done sewing the garment. Fabrics that tend to shrink should be washed before use. And lastly, step 4, you want to read the pattern directions. So that's about it for week 1. For week 2, we will cut our pattern pieces and sew it together. In my last sew-along, I split the cutting from the sewing, but since this pattern is quite easy to sew together, by the end of next week, you will have a new spring dress. So let's talk fabrics. I figured I would show you some of the fabrics that I'll be using in the dresses that I'll be making for the sew-along. Let's see, what do we have here? Have them all kind of lined up in my lap. But first we have this Korea cotton that is very lightweight, and you can tell that has a very nice brushed silky quality, and I think this will make a very nice dress. And I like the polka dots, and they work quite nicely in scale with Blythe. So this will be one, and I have quite a bit of this when I bought it when I was overseas many years ago, but it's manifested itself to be used in doll sewing projects. So we have this, And then I found some scrap fabric that I think would be fun to use. As you can see, it's a little bit chaotic with the filming just because I don't have my typical area. It's incredibly overcast, so thanks for putting up with it. Here we have this cotton that has some lyrics or tinsel-y threads woven into it, and I think that would be quite nice to use. The stripes aren't too crazy scale-wise for Blythe, meaning that they aren't like, you know, this big and you can't see anything. So I think this will make a nice dress. I'm looking forward to using it just to see how it turns out. I think the colors work really nicely, especially for like a spring themed dress. And lastly, I have this scrap. I've used it for a few doll projects that I've made, and I really like the scale of it. As you can see, that's how it compares to a Blythe doll. And I think I'd make a dress out of this one for my curly blue babe who came a couple weeks ago, and accessorize it with some maybe some darker tights. We'll see. Got some ideas to play around with. So those are the 3 dresses that I plan on making using the pattern, but I might, if I'm feeling incredibly inspired, I might actually make one out of muslin so that I can dye it later, but we shall see how much time I have. So that's what I plan on making, and if you'd like to share what you will be using, I'd love to see it. Please join the Facebook group so you can comment there. I think it's easier to upload photos there too. So hope to see you around there. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Bye.